Welcome to the Belief Breakthrough Show, where we believe that you can achieve the life you dream of simply through shifting your perspective and breaking through your limiting beliefs. With your host, Tina Encarnacion, the author of Stuck in the Fire, a story of resilience, trauma and abuse coach, an energy healer, and Reiki master. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us again on another episode of the Belief Breakthrough Show. In the Belief Breakthrough Show, we are here to teach you how simply through breaking through your beliefs and your limiting beliefs at that, breaking through the glass ceiling, you can achieve anything you want in your life. Everything is possible. There are no limitations besides the ones that you set on yourself. My name is Tina Encarnacion. I am a trauma and abuse coach, an author, a Reiki master, and a teacher. And I am so excited that you have joined me once again on this amazing show. You can read about my story in my book, Stuck in the Fire, that you can find on Amazon or healingbytina.com. I don't want to take any more time up about myself because we have an amazing woman with us today. She is an author. She is a specialist in adult bullying and breaking through limiting beliefs. Her name is Raushawna, and I just want to honor her today. All of you guys, drop your comments below. Welcome her onto the show. Drop any limiting beliefs that you may be struggling with today so that we can help you work through them as we go through the episode today. So with that being said, I can speak about her all day long, but I can never give her the brilliance that she can give herself as she explains the awesomeness of her as the giver of awesomeness. So Raushawna, I want to go ahead and hand the floor over to you, and please tell everyone all about yourself.
All right. Hello, everyone. I am glad to be here. Yes, I am Raushawna Price, and I have a story, and through the story, you'll learn more about who I am. So I grew up in upstate New York, and so for all the upstate New Yorkers out there, cold winters, great parents, amazing family. And I decided to go and get an engineering degree because I wanted to be a teacher. And because my dad was a teacher, and he's like, you don't want to be a teacher, go be an engineer. And like any good parent, he was like, I said, why? And he said, because they make more money. And I was like, all right. So he didn't really know what an engineer was other than that. And that was the beginning of a shift in my life, because I did go off to be an engineer and realized that through my engineering and through process improvement, I was helping people, designing equipment, designing machines where people would interface. And then after about 8 years of working for General Mills, a food manufacturing company, hairnet, bonnet, like the whole thing, loved that career, I ended up really needing to make a shift because I had children, we were moving, and I needed to do something different. So I went into public education and started working on teacher leadership development. Again, back to teachers and everything that I had been wanting to do and continuing to help people, teach people from a different standpoint, because I was working on their leadership and their development. And about 4 years into that role, I ended up getting a new boss and became really sick. So sick that my blood pressure was like 170/90. I was hypertensive. I would drive home. So for all of you, if you're a woman out there, I'd be driving home, and then all of a sudden I'd have to go to the bathroom super bad. And then by the time I get to the door and then try to like get the key in the door, I'd be shimmying to try to get to the bathroom. And it was happening over and over again. I thought I was just like getting older, and I'd had children, and your bladder changes and all of that. I didn't realize it was stress and anxiety. I didn't know that that was a part of what I was experiencing, along with other symptoms. Like I would go to bed at night and wake up with a splitting headache because I'd be grinding and like clenching my jaw because I was stressed and nervous about what I would encounter at work. Everything from, look at me when I'm talking to you, in an actual meeting where I was like, my heart was racing. It was almost like time was stopping, and feeling so small and just so shameful around all of it, because I was educated. I had done everything my parents had said. You go to school, you get educated, you climb the ladder, you do well. I was productive. I was managing other people. At that time, I had about 30 people on my team. So I had done well. I had an office with a door and a window, right? Like all the things that people say you're supposed to have and be really successful. And I was miserable. I was miserable. I was literally dying. My soul felt like it was dying from the inside out. And I was doing everything to work around this boss. I would drive the parking lot to see, is their car there? Like, what kind of day am I going to have? I would take the long way to my office so I wouldn't have to pass theirs. And one night I was at dinner with my family. So my son and my daughter and my husband. And to this very day, I was watching them and they were laughing at something. And my son said to me, "Mama, that job is stealing your joy." And I was like, oh, because I was physically in the room sitting at the table, but I wasn't present. I was recounting the day and trying to figure out, well, tomorrow maybe I should say this or navigate this way. And I ended up having one final encounter with that boss, and it was in a public setting, in the cubicle setting. And after that encounter, my colleagues were coming and apologizing on my boss's behalf. And I remember standing in the doorway of my office like, all right, God, I can't do this. Like, I don't want to be a part of this picture of leadership. I knew enough. Yeah, because I knew enough to know people do what people see. And so whether they're aware of it or not, they're going to start treating each other this way because this behavior is being allowed. They're seeing it and they're apologizing. And I had so much shame about it. I went back to the doctor. The doctor, at that point, my blood pressure was getting even higher. And my doctor wrote me out on leave, and I ended up resigning and starting my business where because I knew I had skills. I knew I had talent. I knew that I had been coaching people in my role within these organizations for years. I had been doing it. And because I had gotten a certification along the way, I took that certification and really my belief of like, I'm going to step out here on faith and I'm going to do this, and launched my business. And within the first year of my business, I found myself in another situation with another bully. And I realized this is a pattern. I was in the situation where it was in business. I was actually traveling on business. We were consulting, and I found myself in the hotel lobby restroom, sitting on the toilet, crying my eyes out, like completely broken. I respected the person that I was working with. I was enjoying the work that we were doing. I thought we were on the same page. And then we had a verbal conversation that cut me to my core. It just did. All the words they were saying, the finger pointing, accusing me of not being in my integrity. And I didn't know what to do. And I was far away from home. And if you've ever been in a situation where the only safe place is a bathroom where you're crying, I know that feeling. I know that feeling well. And it was at that moment that I was writing in my journal. I was reading, like trying to get myself together. I listened to a couple of superhero movie clips on YouTube, like anything I could to kind of get my courage up to leave the stall. And I ended up asking the Lord to say, like, God, like I felt like that when you're like, oh my gosh, you can't go any lower. So you have to just look up. And I said, I took pictures of myself and said, you got to make this moment count for something because it's terrible. And I don't know what it's going to be, but it's got to mean something. And after that, I went on about a 4-month journey to heal the pattern that I had seen in my life now, in business and career. It went all the way back to childhood. And I discovered this concept of awesomeness, and that there are awesomeness stealers that come into your life. They are bullies. And they see your gift, they see your talent. And for me, these people had seen my gifts and seen my talents, and yet I wasn't aware of them. I just thought everybody did this. I thought everybody showed up happy. I thought everybody showed up ready to work and give their all and be honest and open and truthful. And my honest, open, and truthful was being used against me. I was being deceived by a business partner, or at least I thought there was a business partner, where I was being asked to start processes and start projects, understanding that it wasn't the whole. And so one of the deceivers in my life at that point that I call awesomeness stealers was taking that little bit of information and me being a starter and using it with a whole bunch of other people in a whole bunch of other places. And I wasn't aware. And when I started asking questions to get more insight or get a bigger picture, I would be met with aggression, frustration, name calling. And I was like, what is this? And so that's why today, all of the things that I do help all of the clients that I work with, or if I'm speaking, or even you may be now listening going, oh my gosh, there's somebody like that in my life. Because I believe that when you're aware of the awesomeness dealers, of the people in your life that are trying to make you feel small, it's actually a sign that you have something. You have a gift, you have a talent, and they're trying to help you figure that out, even in the worst ways. So even that, look at me when I'm talking to you statement that my boss made turned into why I'm a speaker today. Because the truth is that in that moment, that boss needed me to look at them. My presence mattered to them. And when your presence matters, I would ask you all a question. When your presence matters somewhere, where would you want it to be? What would you do with that? How would you help someone? That's one of the questions that I ended up asking myself. I was like, well, if my presence matters because they need me to look at them, then okay, let me shift my awesomeness. Let me go put it in places where it's healthy and where it's wanted and where it's desired so that I can help more people. And that has been and will be for the rest of my life what I do, is help people continue to heal and break through the mindset. One of the awesomeness stealers is a minimizer. So these are people that get joy out of making you feel small. And it is an ongoing thing. It's almost, I like to think of it like a little bit of a hit, like a drug. So it starts out small and snarky, like little comments. Maybe it's just the two of you on the phone or through text or wherever. And it's these little side comments like, oh, you think you're so good, or, oh, like, yeah, you did a great job, but maybe not in this area. And it's like this undercurrent. And the more the minimizer gets joy, they then start to seek you out. They call you, they message you because they need you to give them the hit. Ultimately, that's why you have awesomeness, because they're seeking you out. You have something. What it is you have, how you choose to give it to the world, is what you have to go through the process and the journey to step into. It is how you bring your power forward. It is how you break through to what I believe is waiting for you on the other side of your self-discovery. And that's how you're a giver of awesomeness. So that's my story.
What an amazing story. I can so relate. So the reason I created my company was to escape my boss, my abuser. And I put up with him for 2 years. And I finally had a mental breakdown in the lobby of my job. Literally lost it, melted on the floor, crying like a baby wrapped in the fetal position, just lost it. And I had gone to all of his superiors. I had begged HR. I was like, someone make this stop. And nobody would. And so I finally, I was required to go through 6 weeks of psychologists before I could go back to work because of my mental breakdown. And I remember, like, when I went out, I was like, what can I do to escape this? How can I get out of this? Because I don't know that I can go back. And that's why I started the business that I started. And I'm so grateful because of that mental breakdown. It allowed me to see that something needed to change and that I had to heal myself. Because if I was so weak that this man could break me like that, something was broken inside of me before he even started it on it. And so I'm really grateful now for the abuse or the bullying because it allowed me to actually see that something needed to be fixed. And I had just been pushing and pushing and pushing for, like, just running from the pain. And he finally made it so big that I couldn't ignore it anymore. And so, like you said, they are minimizers, but take their limiting mindset and use it for your power to
Right.
screenshot you into the life you should be living. Don't allow their negativity to break you down, but use their negativity to lift you up. So
That's right. They come, I say, like when bullies come, you have a gift. And ultimately, even your breakdown was an opportunity for you to heal old things, things like that. So he came as a gift for you
right.
to be, even in the hardest of it, because it's hard. It's spent lots of time crying, lots of time
Oh my God.
writing. And I mean, I wrote 4 pages of things that were said and done to me from that one boss, right? Like
Yes.
it's a lot, but it's
Mhm.
worth it because there's all these little golden nuggets of things. And the
Yes.
attachment of, even for you, that's powerful because some would say, oh my gosh, you had a breakdown and like you cried in front of everyone. And it's like, yes. And in that down moment, seeing yourself there, you know what the bottom looks like. So of course you can rise to the top.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Absolutely.
it was that breakthrough that made me go and turn in my resignation. And because of me turning my resignation in, he was forced to retire. So I was able to save so many people from his, because I was not the only one by any means. And so just what you're saying is just, it's powerful. You can allow it to break, that bullying to break you, or you can allow it to build you up. And now I feel pity for the man. I'm like, man, he must have been really hurt. He must have really, for him to have to come to work and, spew his negativity on all of his employees. What's he going through at home? What's he gone through in his childhood? Like, what suitcase is he carrying on his back where he feels the need to demean and belittle people to lift himself up? And so now I look at bullies in that way. Like when someone comes at me and they're bullying me, I'm like, wow, what have you gone through? You've got a lot of pain.
Yeah, you have a lot of pain, you have a lot of trauma. And we like to talk about the bully and the things that they do. They get a lot of airtime. And I think it's just as powerful to talk about how they are choosing you. They're coming for you for a reason. And
Yes.
it's in those places where they're obviously seeing you, right? We know this because we talk about mindset. You can only ask a question if somewhere you have an answer, because that idea exists within you. The same is true if somebody is saying, oh, I'm going to go and say something mean to Tina. Well, you're top of mind, Tina. That means they're thinking about you. And because you're being thought of, that means you're giving off energy of some sort.
Yes.
You have enough presence, even if you're not in the room. And there's a lot of times that people are made to feel bad about that. I kind of use the analogy like the sun. So like I always say the sun does 2 things. What are the 2 things it does?
It provides you heat and it provides you light.
It does. It does. It does one other thing that most people miss.
What, energy?
It throws shade.
Oh, yes.
Justin being the sun. And you usually miss it. Justin being the sun. It, like, if the sun is shining, there is shade somewhere. Even in the highest of highest points, there is shade somewhere. And there are people that are annoyed when the sun is hot and shining, but the sun doesn't go, well, today I guess I'll just be the moon because, everybody's getting upset because I've been the sun and been shining all hot. It's that same thing. It's like, if you're the sun, so shine because you're going to throw shade.
Yeah. So for someone who is stuck in that current environment of being bullied, and they're in that mindset of victim mentality where I'm worthless, I'm not enough, what am I not doing right? What advice do you have to give that person?
The first thing is I want them to go ahead and write out all the things that they are, the I am statements. I am good. I am positive. I am here. Whatever it is, write it on your mirror in your bathroom. Get a dry erase marker, start there. Because when you wake up in the morning and you look in the mirror, you have to tell yourself who you are. And that shifts your mindset to see it. The next thing I say is to go ahead and listen intently, like detailed, to what the person is saying to you. Because even if they're saying things like, you're terrible, you're making a ton of mistakes, okay, on your job, that sentence right there, you're terrible, you're making a ton of mistakes, means you're doing something. Do whatever it is you're doing, even if you are making a ton of mistakes, even that means you're doing something. So what you're doing is energy that you can then say, all right, okay, I am making mistakes. Well, I'm going to go and do something else because at least I'm taking action. That shift in the mindset of, okay, I'm going to take action. Now let me choose this. So that's the third thing, is go ahead and then make a different choice. Even in that one day. Great. You can even take their negativity as, okay, well, this is feedback. Mm-hmm. Even if you're in a meeting, you can say, well, what would you like me to do? Mm-hmm. Now you're choosing to show up and use your voice. Or if you're in a place where it's like, you know what, I can listen to them and now I'm going to shift and do something else, then do that. Because ultimately, everything someone says to you or does to you, you can flip it. I call it flipping the flow of adversity. You can flip that flow into something positive. Mm-hmm. So those are the three things.
Yeah. Now, for someone that is ready to take action and say, I'm no longer going to allow this person to have power over me, mm-hmm. but they don't quite know how to put the puzzle pieces together to step into their awesomeness. Yes. They know it's there, but they don't know how to piece it together. Do you have any tips or tricks on how to put the puzzle pieces together to understand your own inner awesomeness?
Yes, there's a couple of things. So, and I love puzzles, jigsaw puzzles. They're mm-hmm. amazing. And I start with the frame, get all of the outside straight pieces. And that's what you want to do to build your puzzle, is start with the outside pieces. So there are some big things, like if you're like, I'm ready. So there are some big things that have already happened to you that you're like, I don't want that anymore. I want you to take even Post-it notes and start writing them all down. All of them down on different Post-it notes so you can see the puzzle that you're putting together. Once you write it all down and get it out of your head where it's been swirling, you'll be able to start to see the pattern. Things like, if let's say you always get a snarky comment when you show up and you look great. Okay, start every time you've been to a party and somebody's like, oh, you look so great. You know, you're always trying to outdo me, or you got a friend that's saying that. Write that down. It matters. It matters. Oh, like, you think you're so much. That matters. Boom. All of that is a part of your appearance, your presence, people looking at you. Your awesomeness is in the fact that when you show up, people pay attention. You shift an atmosphere. All of that is part of your awesomeness. The next thing I want you to do is start to pay attention to time. Time is a great indicator of when we're operating in our awesomeness. So start to think about, what are the things that you're doing? When you're doing them, it's almost as if time stops. An hour feels like 10 minutes. That's when you know you're operating in your awesomeness. Mm-hmm. And you want to do your best to start to build in more of that time. That's why I started coaching, because a coaching conversation, it'd be an hour. I'd feel like it was 10 minutes and people would leave going, oh my God, I feel so great. This is amazing. You know, before I got certified, I was called Yoda. Like, can you do that Yoda thing? I'm just going to come in your office and sit. And I was like, I mean, I like Star Wars, so it's cool. But your time is a great indicator. So pay attention to it. And on the opposite side, we've all been in situations where it's like, is it over yet? Is it over yet? That's when you know you're on the other end of the spectrum. And those are things that you only want to do when you have to do them. Otherwise, they're draining your awesomeness.
Most definitely. Do you have like one or two experiences in your life that have impacted you to realize how do I word it? That have created you to be who you are today? Like you gave your life story, right? And it was great. But typically I find like there's one or two experiences that have like pivoted your entire existence to become who you are today. Is there one or two experiences in your life that have made you like pause for a second and go, holy cow, like something, like I'm going to shift here. that maybe was a limiting belief that allowed you to see that limiting belief and break through it?
Yeah. So the bathroom example is what I call a pin on my map.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, oh my gosh, I'm here. How did I get here?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I asked myself two questions. How did I get here? And I didn't sign up for this. It's not really a question. It was more like a phrase, but I'm like, did I sign up for this? And it's a pin in my map. It's the moment where I was like, I don't deserve this. Like I, I could be not doing well, but even still, I don't deserve this. And like I said, it was 4 months of me going back to many times that I had been in the bathroom crying, many times that people had said things and done things that made me feel small and insignificant. And I was like, I am not that.
Mm.
I don't know what I am, but I am not that.
Mm-hmm.
And really then rising up from that to be able to stand and actually I'm pretty awesome and I'm going to decide where I go and put that awesome. It's not here clearly because you don't value it. I am going to go be awesome though. And that's actually when the sun analogy came to me for the first time, was in the understanding like because I thought I was doing everything well. And I had been pivoting and shifting. And I had known, like, even before when I was in the work situation, I did everything I could to be a really good employee so that my boss wouldn't come for me. And it didn't work. And when I was bullied in school, when I went back and realized I was bullied in school, I was called names. When I was standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, one of the bullied girls at the time, like, put a pencil under my chair and I sat down and it pierced me and I had to get stitches when I was in 6th grade. Like all these times that I had tried to be someone else or be good enough and it wasn't enough, then I was like, I'm done with that. I'm going to be me and it's more than enough and I'm going to go shine. And if I throw shade, that's just on them. They can choose to be in the light too.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Now, we both know that bullying is something that is very real in our world.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I almost feel like the bullies are a victim too. They're a victim of their own mindset and the negativity that they are allowing to consume them. Right. And so, like, for me now, because I've gone through the whole bullying thing and the terrible experience, now when someone comes at me and starts to bully me, what I do is I've chosen to stop and listen to them. Because really, I feel like people bully you because they want that attention and they've never been taught how to get it. Right. So for an adult that is being bullied right now, either at home or at work or in their community, do you have any advice? Because you've given advice on how to go within themselves to empower themselves and bring out their awesomeness.
Yes.
But what would you do towards that bully? Would you give it what advice could you give to allow them to not only empower themselves, but to also give that bully maybe a tool to help their lives?
Yeah. I love this part because when you step into your awesomeness and that bully comes for you, you can turn and face them and really face them. And to your point, yes, listen to everything that they're saying and offer them an opportunity to change. Not every bully will really embrace the fact that they're saying something, doing something that is hurting you in some way because they're still hurt. However, when you turn and face them, you give them a pause, a mental disruption. We know that mental disruption is the stop in the brain that allows a different pattern to begin. And so some of the questions that you can ask, so if you're listening out there, if you're like, yes, I have a bully and I feel like I want to have a conversation with them, is to start by asking them, what are you doing? That question really, like, because people pause, like, what do you mean what I'm doing? But it is a true turn about face. Like, what are you doing? And then you can ask them, did you intend to hurt my feelings? Because that's what you just did. Are you aware of that? Did you know that yesterday I left our meeting crying because you were rude? The did you knows allow them to connect to their behavior and the outcome of it. And 9 times out of 10, the bully is then in a place where they're remorseful or shameful.
Mm-hmm.
And from that place, you can have a conversation with them around, why do you behave this way? Or why do you say these things? Or is there some help that you need? Or how can I help you be different? And then you can offer them help. And it's not that you have to be the one to solve it for them. It may be, I think you need to talk to someone, or there's resources, or call this number, especially if you're an employee. That's when you can go and have a conversation with an HR department, if that's a safe place, or it's, hey, I've done my part. And I always recommend to people that are in a company is to document your actions towards resolving the issue. Because when you have your own documentation and you do decide to take it up the levels or go to HR, regardless of the outcome, you can say, I've done my part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Are there any, I don't know, for me, like I use meditation, I use EFT tapping, I use Reiki to help people to bring their awesomeness out when they can't discover it. Do you have any tools that you recommend for an individual that is struggling with limiting beliefs, that maybe their awesomeness is a spark, but it's not yet a flame? And they don't know how to break it open? Are there any tools that you advise your clients to use at home besides journaling and organizing their Post-it notes? Are there anything that you provide your clients with to assist them in that way?
Yeah, so I provide them with some different meditations for them to think into, and for them to create their own ongoing affirmations that they speak into in the daytime, and then gratitude themselves on in the evenings.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that that connection is there. Because when you say the I am, and then you're grateful for how things show up at the end of the day, you've already set the tone for the next day. The other thing is when they are giving their awesomeness. So sometimes people are like, yes, I've now discovered my awesomeness. I am great at organizing, or, oh my goodness, I'm a starter. Like I'm the first person to put the idea out there. And that's what catapults my team to be able to innovate. When they do that, applauding themselves so that they do it again versus feeling like, ooh, I've outshined somebody. That's how they continue to build on the flame. Additionally, the clearings that my clients do is helpful. So when people clear out the trauma, the hurt from their past, they're able to show up fully whole and healed in their age right now. And so so when the hard thing comes, they're not showing up as the 4-year-old that didn't get their way when they were 4 and they needed their mom to show up for them. They can show up fully resourced as themselves today.
Absolutely. Now, when you say when they clear out that past, is that through the meditations or?
So they can do them through the meditation, and where they visualize going back into that place if they're by themselves. So being able to say, because when you're in a state where you're like feeling less than, there's all of these flashes that we don't pay attention to. So I teach my clients to pay attention to them. Like the flash of who you actually are is leading you to what's in your subconscious mind. And that's what you can heal. And you can go through a process of going, okay, let me go back to that place. What was I feeling? What was I thinking? And especially clients that have worked with me for a long time, they're able to do that by themselves because they've gotten the tools and the resources. If you're new at it, it's harder to do. And so that's why people work with me, and then they go on to be able to do it themselves, where they're independent on it.
What do you think is one of the most important things for somebody, what is one of the best ways that somebody that's struggling with limiting beliefs can do to help improve their situation?
So they're in the situation right now and they have a limiting belief that they can't get out of it. Is that like what you mean?
Yeah. What is the
best thing? What's the best thing for them to do? So if they're in the situation and they can't get out of it, or they're thinking they can't get out of it, the first thing to do is to visualize what other options are out there. What can you do? Because the visualization is what you will then start to create. Even if it's, I can't get out of it, However, I can at least be more positive in it, or I can find someone to that I will go to that's a safe place. Even that shift in the mindset changes their behavior or changes how they show up in it. And over time, it's like stacking. You want to stack that one mindset change of, oh, well, I'm gonna stay in it, but I'm gonna look for all the positive in it. And then the next day we stack on top of it. How many positive things did you find? And then from there we get to a place where people can then envision themselves leaving it, because not everyone's ready to swing the door open and leave, because there's a part of it that's at least known. And whether you're at work or in a relationship where because I've had friends and clients that have been in domestic violence, etc., there's a normalcy that becomes a part of this rhythm of this bullying that happens. Even in a meeting, everyone knows, okay, well, we're going to go around the circle. Everybody's going to give their updates, and then so-and-so's going to get mad. Like it's all a dance. Right. And the dance has been choreographed. So being able to start to see it differently when you're in it is the beginning of opening the door to the options. So that's where I tell people to start with seeing one thing different, and that'll shift everything else.
Yes. I love that. That's so awesome. So last question.
Sure.
What are 3 pieces of gold that you could give to our viewers that would help them to shift their perspectives and eliminate their limiting beliefs?
Ooh, okay. So the first piece of gold is any situation, any adversity, any bullying, any conflict is choosing you for a reason. So it doesn't matter, even in the middle of a pandemic, how it's showing up for you is choosing you for a reason. That's the first piece of gold. When you embrace that thought, it automatically opens up, okay, well, what is the reason? And once we ask a question, we can then find the answer. So that's the first piece of gold. The second piece of gold is to love yourself in your moment. So when you're broken in it, because so often with limiting beliefs, there's a feeling of like, I've got to not be in this moment. When you can own the limiting belief that you have and love yourself in it, you're then able to move out of it versus trying to run from it. You can just own like, yeah, I don't think that I'm really good at this. Okay, now that I own it, well, let me go be good at it. Let me go figure that out. And the last piece of advice that I will give, or nugget, is all about this understanding that your gift, your awesomeness can thrive in the right environment, and you can find that right environment.
Yes, there's always a place in the world for you.
Always. So those are the 3. That's what I would say.
Those are awesome pieces of advice. Oh my gosh. It has been absolutely amazing having you on this show. You are just awesome. I love that you claim that too. You are the giver of awesomeness, and you truly are. You have such a beautiful light about you and such a good head on your shoulders. And I just love it. If our viewers are wanting to work with you and get a hold of you and have a little bit of piece of you in their lives, where can they find you?
Yes. So any viewers out there that want to come into the community of awesomeness, get training, go to giverofawesomeness.org. It's going to take you to the live trainings and engage with that audience. And that is also where you can link out to RaushawnaPrice.com and find my information so that you can schedule your trial consult so that we can start your process of even just becoming aware. So that's how they can find me.
Awesome. I'm also going to put all of her information down below in the description of this show. So if you guys want to get a hold of her, I highly recommend that you do, because who doesn't need a little bit of awesomeness in their life? And who doesn't need someone that can understand the pain of bullying that we all go through in this world? It is impossible to go through this world and not be bullied at some point. And she obviously knows how to heal those wounds. So you guys, I encourage you to get a hold of her. And again, if you have any questions, all of her information will be below. I want to thank you guys for staying with us through this episode, through joining us once again on this awesome platform. If you have not yet subscribed and liked the channel, please do so. And please share this episode with all of the people that you know have gone through bullying or who need to help break through limiting beliefs or need just a little bit of awesomeness in their life. So you guys, thanks again for tuning in, and we will see you on the next one.